floating 400 kilometers above Earth, a shining structure orbits silently, a laboratory, a lifeboat, a legacy.
Yeah, it's really not just a machine, is it? It's a symbol, I mean, a testament to what humanity can actually build
Yeah.
together, defying gravity and even geopolitical divides.
Absolutely. Today at Curious Minds, we climb aboard the International Space Station, the ISS. Our mission is to take you on a deep dive into its incredible story,
Right, from its visionary origins.
to the realities of life up there in orbit, the groundbreaking science it enables, and, what comes next as this particular era starts winding down. We've pulled together a stack of fascinating sources to guide us on this journey.
Okay, let's get into it.
So let's unpack this monumental undertaking, the whole idea of humans permanently living in low Earth orbit. Well, it isn't a modern one at all. Our sources trace it back over a century.
Wow, really? A century?
Yeah, we're talking about visionaries like the Russian physicist Konstantin Tsiolkovsky, who was sketching these spaceship concepts way back in 1883.
1883.
Incredible. Okay. Right. Then, in the 1950s, the famous Wernher von Braun imagined this huge wheel-shaped station. The idea was it would rotate and provide artificial gravity.
Ah, I've seen those concepts. Very sci-fi for the time.
Totally. And while von Braun's specific concept never quite left the drawing board, that persistent dream, it really laid the foundation.
And what's truly fascinating, I think, is how this dream, born in an age of scientific rivalry, ultimately bloomed into this, symbol of cooperation.
Right.
Despite the Cold War, the concept of a permanently crewed space station just kept gaining momentum. It was President Ronald Reagan, back in 1984, who formally directed NASA to actually invite other nations to join in.
A big step.
A huge step. And the real turning point came in 1998. There was unprecedented agreement between the United States, Russia, Japan, Canada, and the European Space Agency, ESA.
That's the big partnership.
Exactly. This wasn't just a handshake. It was a really comprehensive partnership that, truly birthed the ISS as we know it today.
And once that ink was dry, construction began, and with astonishing speed, really. In-orbit assembly kicked off in 1998 with the launch of the very first module, the Russian Zarya.
Zarya, meaning sunrise. Nice touch.
Yeah, fitting, isn't it? And just imagine building something this complex, piece by piece, over more than a decade, 400 kilometers above our heads.
Mind-boggling.
It wasn't just raw engineering either. It was this continuous, unprecedented dance between human ingenuity and robotic precision. Early missions were absolutely critical. Remember STS-98? That brought up the U.S. Destiny module in 2001.
U.S. lab.
And STS-104 delivering the Quest airlock. And this wasn't just astronauts doing all the heavy lifting. You had mission controllers back on Earth orchestrating every single move.
Right, constantly.
And these sophisticated robotic arms like the Canadian-built Canadarm, precisely docking these massive cylindrical pieces together.
Yeah, that Canadarm has been iconic. And then came that moment, right? The moment the world had been waiting for. November 2, 2000.
The first crew.
Yep. NASA astronaut Bill Shepard and Russian cosmonauts Yuri Gidzenko and Sergei Krikalev became the first full-time residents. And this wasn't just, another crew rotation.
No, this was the start.
It marked the beginning of an unbroken line of human habitation in space that, remarkably, continues to this very day. It's just amazing to think about. Built in orbit by nations often at odds, specifically to study space. That's not science fiction, that's the ISS.
So once it was assembled, what does this incredible structure actually, look like up close? Our sources describe its modular design. And maybe think of it like an intricate, multi-limbed creature floating up there.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. Each cylindrical lab or living quarter, they call them pressurized modules, is docked together. They provide breathable air, protection from the vacuum.
Real essentials.
Absolutely. And each module has these berthing ports for connection, often helped by those amazing robotic arms we mentioned.
Right, and the main structural components, the ones you hear about, they're like the different wings of maybe a sprawling house.
Exactly. You've got Russia's Zvezda and Oka modules, the U.S. Destiny Lab,
Europe's Columbus,
and Japan's Kibo Laboratory. And powering this entire massive operation are these huge solar panels. They span nearly a football field.
Just soaking up sunlight.
Constantly converting it into electricity, which is absolutely crucial, obviously, for enabling permanent human habitation. And here's a testament to the engineering. The internal pressure inside the station, it's maintained at 14.7 psi.
Which is?
Exactly, mimicking Earth's sea-level atmospheric pressure. So it feels, familiar pressure-wise for the crew.
That's an incredible level of detail and control. And to keep that air breathable, there's the ECLSS, right? The Environmental Control and Life Support System.
The ECLSS. It's this incredibly efficient closed-loop system. It's constantly cleaning the circulating cabin air, removing contaminants from, electronics, plastics, even the carbon dioxide the crew exhales.
It's a critical innovation, isn't it? Just vital for long stays.
It truly is a marvel of resourcefulness. And for safety, which is paramount up there, there's always at least one Soyuz spacecraft docked to the station.
The lifeboat.
Exactly, serving as a constant lifeboat. If an emergency were to arise, it provides a safe, immediate ride home for the crew. This commitment to redundant safety systems really underscores the inherent risks, of living so far from home.
Indeed. It's definitely not just a lab. It's this sophisticated floating city with its own power grid, intricate plumbing, and meticulously planned survival protocols. But what's it really like? I mean, waking up, eating, just living your daily life in a place like that.
Yeah, the everyday stuff.
The everyday realities of living in microgravity are just fascinating. We all know you float, but how do you actually sleep? Without gravity, there's no real up or down.
Right.
So astronauts simply secure themselves into these vertical sleep booths. They're described as being like little phone booths.
Sound booths.
Yeah. They zip themselves into sleeping bags attached to a wall or maybe a seat just to prevent drifting around. And they can literally sleep in any orientation they choose.
It definitely flips your world upside down or right side up or sideways,
Yeah.
depending on your perspective, I guess. And hygiene. Well, hygiene in microgravity presents unique challenges. Forget a simple shower.
No waterfalls in space.
No. Every drop of water is incredibly precious. Astronauts have kits with essentials, sure, but water management is paramount. The station's Russian-built processor takes humidity and condensation right out of the air.
Even sweat.
Even recycled perspiration, and yes, urine, and turns it back into drinking and bathing water. They recover and recycle something like 90% of the water on the station.
90%. Wow.
Every drop counts, literally.
So every molecule of water gets a second and third and probably fourth life up there. And what about food? Is it still all tubes and, bland paste?
Thankfully, no, not anymore. While some food is rehydrated, a lot of it is actually ready to eat. Our sources mention everything from sushi,
Sushi in space.
curries, even special space tortillas.
Mm-hmm.
And we've all seen footage, right, of astronauts making and drinking black coffee.
Ah, coffee. The universal necessity.
So, yes, coffee, which means today's coffee is tomorrow's coffee.
Ah, a true closed-loop system.
You got it.
Every cup is a full-circle experience. Space truly doesn't waste.
Not a drop.
Okay, so moving beyond daily life, this is where it gets really interesting. The science. The ISS isn't just, a fancy orbital hotel. It's a premier testbed for understanding how zero gravity affects the human body.
Absolutely fundamental research.
And this research is absolutely vital for future long-duration space travel, like those missions to the moon and Mars everyone's talking about. What are some of the key breakthroughs or unique insights that this microgravity environment has enabled?
Well, what's truly fascinating is that the kind of research you simply can't do down here on Earth, beyond just, basic physiology like bone density loss or muscle atrophy.
Which are big deals for astronauts.
Yeah, huge deals. But the ISS delves into really cutting-edge medicine, too. Microgravity offers this unique lens, for instance, for studying diseases like colon carcinoma or ovarian tumor cell growth.
Oh, so?
Well, it reveals fundamental cellular behaviors that are kind of masked by gravity on Earth. Understanding those could potentially lead to breakthrough therapies back here. It also allows for things like the production of human erythropoietin, that's a hormone used to treat anemia.
Interesting.
But, it's not all good news from the studies. Some research indicates that long journeys into space, especially out to Mars, could substantially damage gastrointestinal tissues and even brains. There's concern it might prematurely age astronauts.
Wow, that's serious.
It is. And we also see that latent viruses, things already in the body, can sometimes activate during space missions. That adds another layer of risk that we really need to understand for those future deep space journeys.
That's a major consideration for extended travel. But the science isn't just medical, right?
Oh, not at all. In biology, they're studying basic cell behavior, how plants grow in space experiments like advanced astroculture TM and the biomass production system. These are crucial if you want self-sustaining habitat someday.
Growing your own food.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And there's critical research into bacteria resistance. It turns out spaceflight can promote biofilm formation that's like slimy colonies of bacteria and even increase drug resistance in some bacteria like Pseudomonas aeruginosa.
Okay, that's concerning too.
It is, yeah. And then there's physics. They experiment with new materials like creating alloys with enhanced properties that you couldn't make under Earth's gravity.
Mm.
They study how fire behaves in microgravity, obviously critical knowledge. Astronauts are rigorously trained for emergencies like fire or depressurization.
You'd have to be.
And the cupola module, the one with those big bay windows,
The amazing view?
that amazing view. It also acts as a prime spot for Earth imaging and observation, giving us this unique perspective on our home planet. Plus, it allows for instruments like the Alpha Magnetic Spectrometer, AMS, which searches for dark matter, or NICER, which studies neutron stars. So, really broad science.
It really feels like on Earth, gravity holds us down, but in space, it truly sets science free.
Well put, yeah.
So, who exactly runs this incredible orbiting laboratory? We mentioned the partners earlier, but it's worth emphasizing. It's a truly international effort.
It really is. The ISS was built and is operated by that core partnership of 5 major space agencies. NASA from the U.S.,
Roscosmos from Russia.
the European Space Agency, ESA, JAXA from Japan, and the Canadian Space Agency, CSA.
And beyond just the raw engineering, this partnership itself is a marvel, not just technically, but legally too.
It truly is. Each partner nation technically retains jurisdiction over its own components and its own personnel up there, but they've established this complex, yet somehow incredibly effective, legal framework for cooperation and data sharing.
It's kind of a blueprint, maybe?
Yeah, I think it is. A blueprint for future multinational endeavors. It demonstrates that, huge global challenges can be met with global solutions. And the landscape keeps evolving. India, for example, is now joining the club in a way.
Oh, right.
Their SpeedX mission recently successfully demonstrated docking capabilities. That's a really significant step towards India possibly having its own space station by the 2030s.
That signals a huge, fascinating shift then in the global space landscape.
Absolutely. The future of space, it won't be just a two-player game anymore. It'll be truly global, with more and more nations becoming active participants.
Okay, so living and working in space is clearly this extraordinary achievement, but let's be real, it comes with significant risks.
Oh, definitely.
The ISS orbits at altitudes between, 370 and 460 kilometers. It's constantly experiencing this slight atmospheric drag,
Just the very thin upper atmosphere, yeah.
which is slowly pulling it back down to Earth. So every few months, visiting rockets have to perform a reboost.
Literally give it a nudge upwards.
Exactly, nudging it higher just to keep it from falling out of orbit eventually.
And this brings up an important point about the perilous environment it operates in.
Yeah.
Low Earth orbit, LEO, as they call it, it's the bustling highway of space, right?
Mm-hmm.
It has the highest concentration of space junk and natural micrometeorites. To counter this constant threat, the station is actually wrapped in robust Kevlar armor.
Like a bulletproof vest for the station.
Kinda, yeah.
Yeah.
To protect against these relentless impacts. But even with that protection, the risks are real.
Mm.
In 2016, remember, they found that tiny chip, probably from reflective paint.
In one of the cupola windows, yeah.
A minor incident, sure,
Mm.
but a stark reminder of the constant vigilance required up there.
And it's not just external threats either. There have been issues with structural integrity. In September 2019, NASA observed the cabin air leakage rate had doubled.
Right, I remember reading about that.
And then it increased even more by 2020. The source was eventually traced to a crack in the Russian service module transfer tunnel. Now, while 2 leak sources have apparently been sealed, the overall leak rate remains elevated. It suggests there might be other undiscovered leaks.
Which is obviously a concern.
The foremost concern, of course, is maintaining a habitable atmosphere for the crew. Now, NASA has stated that while cracks can grow over time, they haven't observed any indications of, catastrophic failure. And the tunnel could potentially be safely closed off if absolutely necessary, maintaining the station's functionality with its remaining 7 docking ports.
So there are redundancies built in.
Exactly. It's a testament to the station's robust, redundant design philosophy.
And that naturally brings us to spacewalks, or EVAs, extravehicular activity.
The really dangerous part.
Yeah, arguably. These are frequent for maintenance, repairs, upgrades. Astronauts conduct them by exiting through specialized airlocks, and they wear these incredibly bulky spacesuits.
They look huge.
They weigh about 300 pounds on Earth, thankfully weightless in space. But these suits are basically mini spacecraft themselves.
Providing everything.
Everything. Oxygen, carbon dioxide removal, temperature regulation, computer monitoring. But being exposed directly to the vacuum of space is incredibly dangerous. It's a true high-wire act where one tiny mistake can have severe immediate consequences, as, unfortunately, past incidents have tragically shown. Every single spacewalk is a testament to meticulous planning and, frankly, astronaut bravery.
Absolutely. Given all these challenges, the constant risks, the aging hardware, it makes sense that the ISS has a finite lifespan.
Nothing lasts forever, especially in space.
Right. It was actually initially scheduled to retire way back in 2015.
That long ago?
Yeah, then it got extended to 2024, and now a further extension to September 30, 2030 seems likely.
But that requires everyone to agree, right?
Exactly. Any extension requires the support from all the international partners. It's a joint decision.
Okay. And when its time finally does come, what happens? You can't just leave it up there.
No, definitely not. The ISS will be decommissioned and then deorbited in a highly controlled manner. This requires extensive cooperation, especially between NASA and Russian officials who control the main thrusters used for this.
So how do they actually do it?
The deorbit maneuver involves Mission Control Moscow using the station's own thrusters, or possibly docked Progress cargo ship's thrusters, to position it at a very steep angle for a controlled, destructive re-entry into Earth's atmosphere.
Burning up on the way down.
Mostly. The goal is to precisely position the debris footprint, the area where any surviving pieces might land over a completely uninhabited region. Preferably the South Pacific Ocean uninhabited area, sometimes called Point Nemo.
The spacecraft cemetery.
That's the one. Because even with controlled reentry, estimates suggest maybe 16% of the station's mass could survive the heat, and those fragments would still have enough kinetic energy to cause damage, which is why that precision is so vital.
Got it. A controlled, fiery end.
A controlled, hopefully dignified end for a truly global icon. But importantly, this isn't just an ending. It's also shaping up to be a dramatic beginning for something new.
The commercial era.
Exactly. NASA is fully committed to replacing the ISS, not with another single government station, but with one or more commercially owned and operated space destinations in LEO.
Private space station.
Yep. Their plan is for these commercial low Earth orbit destinations, or CLDs, to be operational by 2028. That allows for a crucial 2-year overlap with the ISS before its anticipated decommissioning in 2030.
Smooth transition.
That's the idea. This initiative is seen as crucial to avoid any gap in access to low Earth orbit for vital research, and also to really foster a vibrant commercial space economy. Private firms are already deeply engaged in developing these new stations.
And that really shifts the paradigm, doesn't it? It allows NASA to focus its resources more on deep space exploration back to the moon, onto Mars, while the private sector innovates and operates closer to home in LEO.
It really does feel like one station falls, but many may rise.
A new ecosystem in orbit.
So what does this all mean for the future of space, then? What actually comes after the ISS? We're talking about the potential for these new commercial low Earth orbit destinations to become not just cutting-edge research labs, but maybe also hotels for space tourists, or even factories supporting in-space manufacturing. Could we see, I don't know, Star Wars-style hubs eventually emerge in Earth's orbit, fueling a whole new economy?
It's certainly what many are envisioning. And the path to future human exploration missions, back to the moon with Artemis, eventually to Mars, it depends heavily on that continued microgravity health research and the technology demonstrations that can really only be done effectively in low Earth orbit. We need that LEO infrastructure.
It's a necessary stepping stone.
Absolutely. And we're seeing all these new players and designs emerge now. Private companies like SpaceX, Axiom Space, Blue Origin, they're actively designing orbital blueprints for the next generation of space stations. And as we mentioned, nations like India through ISRO are serious contenders too, aiming for their own station maybe by the 2030s. It's a really exciting, dynamic new chapter unfolding.
The ISS then was never really the end goal, was it?
No, I don't think so. It was a platform for liftoff. A crucial phase, but a phase nonetheless.
It took nations, decades, and literally thousands of humans collaborating to build a home in space. It's just a staggering testament to ambition, ingenuity, and cooperation.
It really is. And now, what started primarily as this symbol of peace and scientific collaboration, well, it might just become the foundation for the next stage of human civilization, the ultimate high ground maybe, fostering new industries, new ways of living, and giving us an entirely new perspective on our place in the universe.
A profound thought to end on. Thank you for being on this journey with us. Stay curious, stay grounded, and watch out for the next one.